Good afternoon, guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we're finally going to be figuring out what is wrong with the cam heads LM753. If you see, I've already kind of got it started because it is Christmas Eve, the day before Christmas Eve, so we call it Christmas Eve. And of course, I've got events and family that I want to spend time with, but because I'm off work, I need to figure out what's wrong with this truck. And it's been way too long since we've worked on it, and everybody wants to know. I want to know, so today we're going to find out once and for all. Things that we're going to do today, we're going to check the timing on the cam. So I need to pull all the water pump off. You see here, harmonic balancer, I need to get this radiator out of my way and pull that out so I can get the front cover off, pull that off, and check the timing. Now, things that also need to be done today: intake manifold. Now let me explain this little plate. This little plate on the Trailblazer SS intake manifold is to put the factory throttle body on it. Now you're thinking, why in the world would you do that? Well, I don't want to, and I'm not going to, only temporarily until we put this baby in there. This is a 90mm LS3 throttle body, and let's get a good size comparison there. Yeah. way bigger. Now, the reason that I have to run the factory one right off the bat is the harness adapter, the X-Link harness adapter for this has not come in yet. It's supposed to be here the day after Christmas, but today is the day when I have time to get this thing fixed. So we are going to, of course, run that throttle body right, you know, for the time being until Wednesday when I get that harness in. But this is going on. We're going to check the cam timing, and I'm going to put down the camera and get started here and try to rip everything out. Once I get everything completely torn down and get the cover off, I'll pick back up the camera and we'll figure out, is the timing off or is it something else wrong with the motor. So pick back up the camera in just a minute. Alright guys, so you want the good news or you want the good news? Because the timing's off. It's retarded, just like I figured. So there is something wrong with it, and so got the front cover off here. You know, we realized we were out of the line. So what I have to do now is I need to pull the valve covers, because you have to take the rocker arms loose. Because if you're not familiar, if you try to take those bolts out, wherever the lobe is with that cam, it's gonna jolt down, because you got the tension on the rocker arms. So I got to pull the valve covers off, loosen up the rocker arms, so that way when I unbolt the cam to go to adjust it, you know, I'm able to do that. And then once I do that, we just put it all back together and try to start it. So what we're going to do, and here's the plan: once we get that lined up, we're going to put it all back together, whole thing. We're going to start it up, we're going to run it, make sure it runs fine. Then we can come back and focus on trying to do the intake manifold. But first things first, fix that, fix the timing on it and make sure, you know, all that's going to be all right, work right. So like I said, I'm going to put the camera back down and I'm going to pull the valve covers off. It's not really a terrible job. It's not too hard. And I'll pick back up the camera once I get to that point. All right, guys, so we got that thing all lined back up. You see there, I had to take the rockers out so we could get the cam position, but I think we've got it all lined back up, so we're going to start going back up with it. And I'm not really going to bother filming much anything going back up top with it. Once we get it all back together, of course, I'll pick the camera up and we'll film the first start, hopefully the first start of the cam being correct. Alright guys, so we got everything hooked back up here for the most part. I need to put the heat shield on the intake and all that, but everything's back together. You know, we had to pull the water pump off, harmonic balancer, valve covers, which included, you know, all the ignition coils, all that. But everything's back together, everything's back in. Timing is correct. So we're gonna start it, and hopefully it starts and maybe it chops. So hang on a little way to find out. Let's open up the door a little bit. She blows a little bit. Ready? Yep. and a little bit of, we got a little bit of oil off. Yeah, oil, a little bit of oil, a little bit of coolant.
What's the temperature at?
Still idling a little high. All right, so I have the check engine lights on because the mass airflow sensor was unplugged and I just plugged it back in. But if you see, it's idling a little bit high, which that's another reason why we're not hearing the cam. So it sounds good. I think we need to retune it and lower that RPM. We'll hear a little bit of chop out of it. But I'm going to double check the water, and I think we'll take it for a ride here in just a minute and make sure that it still runs all right. All right, guys, so it is the next day, and the motor runs great. Now, if you saw under there, we still have that stock LM7. Well, I locked the truck here. That stock LM7 intake manifold on there. We did not get to putting the Trailblazer SS one on. But I did get the new harness in for the throttle body, so we don't need this plate. You know, we can get rid of that, so kind of wasted money there. But who knows, maybe I can sell that to somebody. But that's okay, because we didn't actually have the fuel line we needed to do this project anyway, because we need to modify that return line. So I wanted to be able to do it anyway. We ran out of time, so not a huge deal, but I do have the fuel line that we're going to use on that crossover. What I mean here, and I can't remember if I showed this, but this line right here, we need to get this. So the fuel rails, this is a hard line. That one's not, the new one isn't going to allow for these to set down on here. So I need to run maybe a piece of steel braided line, high pressure hose, something to run across, so that way the fuel rails will set down on there. So I'm going to do that this weekend. And the unfortunate part was I was going to do some pulls, and I was going to do the first pulls with the new motor, but it just won't stop raining in Virginia. And obviously doing pulls on a completely soaked road, we're not going to get far other than in the guardrail. So can't do pulls today, but next video, stay tuned. We're gonna do some pulls. Now, one thing that I do want to talk about, the stall is not high enough. I actually stopped by the shop that rebuilt the transmission, and we had a talk about what we were gonna do. We are gonna put a higher stall in it, and so, you know, keep that in mind next video, and I'll mention that in the next video before I go into a pull. Down low, it does not, you know, it's pretty sluggish off the line, but it's as soon as it hits 3K, I mean, it is just nuts. I mean, it rips once you get to that point. But yeah, once that, you know, going from a dead stop and launching, it's not all that great. So we're gonna get a higher stall. Once we do that, it's gonna run great. I'm not gonna take it to the dyno until I put the higher stall converter in there. So, you know, it might be a couple weeks before I get back down there to the dyno. But we are going to get the intake manifold on there and the new throttle body, and it's going to run even better. But like I said, next video we'll do some pulls. So there you go, guys. The timing was off, so that was the issue. Another thing too, people were talking about, for one, it's idling at like 1,000 RPM, 1,100 RPM, so it's kind of hard to hear that lobe. But you know, I think I was kind of under the assumption that it would lobe more than it did, and a lot of people were. I don't think it's going to lobe as much as I thought or everybody else might have thought, and just given my exhaust setup as well. Now, we're going to completely redo the exhaust system. We're going to get rid of the X-pipe. Not that there's anything wrong with the X-pipe, but I don't really have a need for it anymore. So I want to get rid of the X-pipe, and I just want to keep the true duals, and I want to do 2 mufflers, both sides, not that awful Flowmaster that I have in it. Well, all right, I say awful. Flowmaster's not awful, but I don't want a Flowmaster on my truck that's got a built engine and all this crap. It just seems wrong to go with a cheap Flowmaster on the whole thing. So we're gonna do something, maybe Black Widow, their Venom 250s. I don't want to be crazy loud. You know, it is loud as it is. Even with a Flowmaster 40 and the X-pipe, And high flow cats, this thing is still loud. It is super loud. So it's still going to be pretty loud. And I think once we get rid of the X pipe and we go to just to the 2 separate pipes, I think you might be able to hear more. But we'll see. But maybe if I decide I don't like the cam, we can always do a bigger cam. But there you go, guys. I fixed it. It runs awesome. I'm sorry I can't take you guys for a ride in it because of the rain, but the next video, you guys are just gonna have to wait, because the next video we'll do some pulls for the first time. And I'll even leave it on the 35s. We'll do pulls on the 35s. I won't try to cheat and put stock wheels and tires on it and go do a pull. So we'll leave the 35s on it and go for a pull, because that's what I've been driving. I mean, it's pretty quick. I mean, it's pretty nuts with the 35, so I can imagine on a stock tire size how much faster it'd be. So stay tuned, hit that subscribe button, drop any comments you got down below. Go follow me over on Instagram at Austin04_Z71. I appreciate you guys watching. Stay tuned, like I said, to the next video, and more future videos coming out. Take care. Have a great day.